These days, it's easier than ever to create video games. With free game engines like Unity and the Unreal Engine, and services like Steam Greenlight and itch.io that let you get your games out to the public with little to no quality control, you can upload your games no matter the quality, or if you even made the game yourself. But what if you want to put effort into your game and are worried people just won't like it? Here are a few tips on how to make a popular video game. I've gathered this information based on some of the popular games out there currently. One of the most important things of a good video game is the world the player will be living in. So you will want to spend a lot of time planning out and designing that world, right? Wrong. Nobody likes exploring the same terrain over and over. After my 4th time beating Dark Souls 3, the last thing I wanted to do was live in that world. Exploring was almost non-existent by that time. Games with massive open worlds like The Witcher 3 can help with this problem, but eventually it will get old. I can't count the amount of times I've traveled up this same path up to the Baron's place in Crow's Perch, or been to the town square in Novigrad to trade in my money. No, you want your player's experience to be different every time they play. That's why you want your game's world to be procedurally generated. Doing this will add so much replayability, no one will get tired of playing your game. Every time you start it up, you'll get a different experience. No Man's Sky took this to the next level and made procedurally generated planets, animals, plants, and even words. Implementing procedural elements into your game will also cut back on development time wasted on designing levels. And if something doesn't look good, blame it on the random seed. If you want to have a little level design, you can go the direction of Ziggurat and The Binding of Isaac. What they did is, they created a bunch of different modular rooms and had the game place them wherever seemed fit, creating a labyrinth of rooms. But even then, one room is bound to show up more than once. If you are using death as an end state to your game, putting a simple health meter isn't enough to encourage the player. You need survival meters. The more the merrier. Health and stamina are the absolute minimum. Hunger and thirst are getting closer. But we need all that, in addition to tiredness, temperature, durability to certain items, illness. Hell, why not throw some kind of mana bar in there too? The more realistic in terms of meters that will kill you, the better the gameplay. Don't Starve is a game that focuses most of its gameplay on many of these features. Hunger is only one of the many meters that you will have to focus on. You have to make sure your sanity is high enough so you don't get killed by the shadows. You could freeze to death or burn up in certain times of the year. Your tools and weapons can break. Your food can even spoil and become ineffective or even harmful. We all know that if you aren't eating, you're slowly starving. Putting these meters on screen at all time and having them slowly degrade is a great way to make sure the player doesn't forget about them. So how are you to obtain these types of items though? Well, crafting of course. Everyone knows that a rock, a stick, and maybe some type of rope will make a perfect axe fit for cutting down trees. Whether it requires some kind of workbench, doing it in your head, or just throwing materials on the ground, it all gets the job done. The recipes can be simple, like gathering a certain number of things, or complicated, like somehow knowing what shape to make in a crafting area and with what materials. More important than making tools though, you need to live somewhere. That's where building comes into play. If you want to make it completely open-ended like Terraria, and give players the freedom to build anything they can dream of, that's ambitious, but go for it. Other than that, you can just give the player pre-made blueprints to use, and disallow them to make anything that actually looks good. This will bring us to the next gameplay feature on how to get these materials. I already talked about making your game procedurally generated, and with that feature already in the game, this next step will be easy. Open world. And more importantly, open sandbox. It's annoying to feel like you have responsibilities and purpose in the games you're playing, so taking that away gives the player the ultimate freedom to do whatever they want. You may explore the world in The Witcher, but you will always have that nagging annoyance of trying to accomplish something. In games like Minecraft and No Man's Sky, it takes away that purpose and lets you set your own goals, whether you want to explore your planet or fly to another planet and explore that one. The possibilities are truly endless. Then that brings us to where you are going to store all these things. The next popular gameplay mechanic is inventory management. There aren't many things more interesting than looking at all the things you collected and trying to figure out what is important and what is junk. Fallout 4 had an interesting game mechanic which made everything useful in some way, while also being able to pick up 80% of the world around you. Since nearly everything has weight to it, you will quickly fill up your inventory weight limit and have to sort through it again. There are many different ways to include an inventory system. Limited inventory slots like Minecraft and Terraria, limited carrying capacity like Fallout 4 and Witcher 3, or no limit at all like Dark Souls 3. That way you can carry everything you will ever need and more. We Happy Few has a variation of the limited slot system, but certain items can take up 2 slots. People love their diversity in inventory management, so don't feel like you have to choose one that's already been used. Modify it a little bit and see where it goes. So now that you have your game available to the public, how are you going to advertise it? What will you tell people when you want them to play it? If you followed all of the tips I gave you, then you have your classic open world survival sandbox game with crafting and building elements. So the easiest thing to do is to compare it to Minecraft. Whether that's what you want or not, people will do it anyways, no matter how similar or dissimilar your game is, so you might as well embrace it. It's an easy way to convince new players to try out your game. Next is probably the most important part of being a game developer, the business model. When you complete your game, aha! There's your first problem. Don't do that. More and more games are being released in early access, which will get people playing, and more importantly, paying earlier than ever. The good thing about early access is that you never have to actually finish the game. Just add a few things each month for a little while, and then quit whenever you feel bored with it. After all, it is your game, not the fans' game. If you follow most, if not all of these steps, you will be on the right track to making a successful video game. Another thing that could help is going the crowdfunding route, but that could be another topic entirely. I'm sure if you look for popular new releases, you'll come up with many similar game mechanics as these, but always feel free to do some research on your own. Someday, even you can have your own game on Steam, along with all the other unique and original games. If you haven't figured it out yet and haven't read the description, this is a joke. I do not think that these make a good game. In fact, I even included a few mechanics that I hate myself. So if you made it this far in the video and were hoping to get some real information, sorry, I guess. I do not advise using this video for educational purposes at all.